Welcome to Trauma and Transcendence, where healing meets awakening. I'm Amanda M. Dodd, your guide on this transformative journey. Thank you for joining me on this episode. Let's transcend together. Hello, soulful seekers. Welcome back to Trauma and Transcendence. On this episode, as you can see, I've got an incredible guest, and I haven't let you down this time. We are going to have so much fun. As you are hearing this, where am I? I will be doing past life regression in the Salt Cave. That is a typical one that we do. Everybody is welcome, ideally people 16 and up, because I never know what themes are going to present or what kind of healing is going to happen, just that it will arrive. On the next time, the following week, on June 20th, I'll be doing EFT combined with hypnotherapy and some breath work. So if you've been working with confidence and self-esteem, you want to tap it out, come on and join me in the Salt Cave. We're going to have an amazing time. Young ones are allowed for that session. So if you've got them around 12, 13, right at those critical ages, bring them on in. We're going to bust them through it. All right, you've waited long enough. Today, I have Luke Michael Howard from Luke-Gnosis, and we're going to be talking about Huna. Welcome, Luke.
Hey, Amanda, how are you?
Good. So happy to have you here. You just came back from a beautiful vacation, it looked like. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Where did you go, and where are you coming home to?
I come back from Tenerife in Spain, and I reside in Toronto, Canada, which is not the capital of Canada. As a lot of non-North Americans, British people think like Toronto is the capital. It's not. It's the coolest city, most likely, probably, in Canada. But yeah, Toronto. Spain to Toronto. Oh, and I went to Barcelona as well, and Tenerife, and then back home to Toronto.
Amazing. It all sounds phenomenal. And I think after the winters in Canada, you definitely earned some sunshine.
This is true. When I first moved over to Canada, everyone's like, "Oh, how do you deal with the winters?" Because sometimes it gets to -40 with the wind chill. And I'm like, "Oh, the winters are fine. It's the summers." Because in England, it never gets, our hottest day of the year ever is like 23 degrees Celsius. That's like super hot. That's like when we start complaining more than usual about the weather. But like, that's nothing here in the summer in Toronto. So I'm like, it's the summer that I'm not used to. I love the sun. I love that people wear less clothes, are happier. But I'm not good with the heat. Don't like the heat.
I don't know if you know this, but I actually grew up in Montreal, Quebec. And then right after high school, after 2 years in college, I booked it all the way to Calgary, Alberta. So I've lived on both sides.
Oh, okay, yeah. Calgary is cold, and Montreal gets bloody cold as well, doesn't it?
Oh my God, yeah, and the snow. Oh my God, the snow. I have horror stories of mountains of snow in the parking lots because they didn't know where to put it after a while.
Oh, really?
Kids could get lost in those snowbanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's fun that we have that in common. And so we met, as is my story often, at the Michigan Hypnosis Conference. And was that, I can't recall if that was your first time attending last year, or if you, I don't remember seeing you the year before.
First time.
Yeah. And you were actually talking about one of the topics that's close to my heart, which is IEMT. You were talking about the patterns of chronicity and why people don't heal.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a fun talk.
Yeah, super good. And I love anytime I get to see IEMT get out there. It's just like such a happy moment of just, yeah, there it goes. Because I know it's like such a good intervention. But today we're talking about Huna. And was that like your first love when it comes to healing modalities?
Can I just ask you one question? I should probably ask you this before. Is it okay if I use colourful language on your podcast?
Yeah.
All right, because sometimes a word slips out. I want to make sure you're okay with it before I go full promo mode. So when I got involved in hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming and timeline therapy 25 years ago, The place that I trained in England, they had hypnosis, and on the same program, they had NLP practitioner, hypnosis, and timeline. So I kind of knew what hypnosis was to a degree, had a box to put it in. And I had a tiny bit of understanding about NLP because of Tony Robbins had read his 2 books at that time. Had no idea what timeline therapy was. And then this whole Huna thing, like, spirituality, ain't it all just bullshit? I'm like more of an atheist. I don't go to church. If that's your belief, you've got belief systems that are spiritual, that empower you, more power to you. That wasn't me. I like the neuroscience. So I heard about this thing, Huna. I'm like, stay away from that. Sounds a bit hokey. Sounds a bit hocus pocus. How can I sell that to someone? It's like a psychic. It's like a clairvoyant. Oh no, I stay away from this. Yeah. 25 years ago. So I did all my NLP training and hypnosis training and timeline therapy training and everything else. And then this Huna thing starts floating around just before, I guess, just as pandemic was happening. And a lot of people look at like NLP and hypnosis like, this is great, but where's the soul? Where's the spirit? There's a lot of great techniques we can use to improve ourselves, client, lovely for the mind, for the body, conscious, unconscious. But what about the soul? What about the spirit? I used to be like, soul, spirit, when you're dead, you're dead. It's all bullshit anyways. But suddenly I started to get drawn back into Huna. Like, why now? The seed was planted 25 years ago. Why 20 years later am I now gravitating towards it? And my realization was there's a beautiful breakdown in Huna of like evolution, and I can't of us humans from certain ages going through adolescence, teens, 20s, 30s, and so forth. And I can't remember it verbatim, but essentially, and I know this sounds a bit pretentious what I'm about to say, even though I'm thinking it and the words are going to come out. But the belief is there's kind of a spiritual evolution that goes on in humans between, I think it's 38 to 44 is when we start we've accumulated our job, we've accumulated a certain amount of money, relationships, health, but then there's a paradox that kind of happens where we kind of seek some kind of spirituality, for want of a better word. And I'm 45. I know I don't look it, but that's when that's right. And that's when I kind of fell into all this stuff. It was right in that window of 40 to 45. I'm like, that would answer that question as to why, after all this time, I've gravitated towards it. But back when I started to look at Huna, there's different schools of Huna. The school of I've been to a couple of different schools. The main way I got introduced to it was from Tad James, creator of timeline therapy, and the only way you could learn this form of Huna, which was the only form of Huna that I was aware of, was to go to Hawaii. And because you had to have the experience, it's not something you could learn online, although I was told you can't learn it anywhere else other than Hawaii. But pandemic was happening, I couldn't get to Hawaii, and I found somebody in Toronto who taught Huna, and I went there, and I was the only guy, and it was 12 women. And it's like, so they would look at me like a cat that barked. And they were teaching Huna, but the little understanding I had about the shamanistic art of Huna was very different to what they were teaching. They were teaching the more mainstream version of Huna, for want of a better word, the surge version of kind of Huna that's out there. And it was fine. There was a lot of beautiful philosophy. I did a couple of courses, but it wasn't enough practical skills. It was essentially just trust the energy coming through you, and very little techniques. Lovely theory, lovely story. Started to do some energy shifting, energy work with people. But I'm like, I need more of this. I need more meaty stuff. I need more things to play around with. And then my original trainer in hypnosis and timeline therapy, one of Tad James's master trainers, he when pandemic hit, he did a Huna online. Oh, I thought you couldn't do it, but apparently things had shifted. So I did it online. Like, this is interesting. But it's like, but for level 2, you have to come and do it in person. But it's not in Hawaii. It's going to be in Tenerife. Now, when I lived in England, Tenerife is like an hour and a half on an aeroplane. I never visited Spain. To get to Tenerife from Toronto took 3 changes in an aeroplane, sleeping in Dublin airport for about 6 hours. No, it was 8 hours. So it took about 24 hours to get there. Whereas if I still lived in England, 2 hours and an hour. And the reason they chose Tenerife is because they have a volcano, which is pretty much, I think when they look at it on a map, it's perpendicular to Hawaii and the volcanoes. So that's why Tenerife was chosen. So I went there, hadn't seen or already had contact with this particular trainer for 20, 25 years. My first trainer in all of this. And yeah, I just learned these magnificent things. And I've got to say, when it comes to spirituality and stuff, I think everything's bullshit. That doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But even when I think of hypnosis, I think it's bullshit. I've made a great living and helped a great many people for 25 years. I think it's bullshit. When it comes to NLP, I think it's bullshit. It doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Bullshit in what sense, though? Like,
in the sense of, here is my cell phone. I can touch it. I can feel it. I can see it. It's a tangible object right here.
Yeah.
When I think of stuff like this, it's like bullshit in as much as a lot of people, well, can I see it? Like really actually in front of me and not hallucinate it? Can I physically touch it? And again, I filter it through my experiences of hearing this initially and being like, well, hypnosis as a layperson who got into this, I have a tiny level of understanding. I've seen these stage shows and stuff. NLP, well, I've heard of Anthony Robbins and I've seen him do his stuff on stage. But it's like, but this is just all make believe. It's all phony. But then I realized all of my clients' problems were make believe and phony. Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't real for them. It doesn't mean they weren't experiencing trauma. It doesn't mean they weren't feeling the pain, emotional, physical, mental. I'm not saying that. But I mean, it's bullshit in as much as, well, I'm very depressed. Well, where's your depression right now? Well, what do you mean? Well, I've got chronic pain. If a tiger came into the room now to bite your ass off, where would your back chronic pain go? Well, it would just disappear. And it would.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by bullshit. So,
I don't know if you are familiar with Karen Hand. Have you ever heard her talk?
Yeah, I'm aware of her.
And so she's calling people out on their BS too, but when she breaks down BS, for her, it's belief system, and everybody has their BS. And so I love that because then it kind of brings my mind right back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and I started to learn this stuff. And then I think sometimes when we get involved in hypnosis and healing and change work in general, you know, certainly when I got into it, I'm like, oh, get that first shift in a client. Oh, aren't I amazing? Aren't I fantastic? Oh, aren't I so special? Oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's all because of me. I was like that for a long time. I still battle with the ego now. But I realized that would do a big disservice to my client. And oftentimes at the end of the session, oh, Luke, that was amazing. Luke, you changed my life. Oh, Luke, thank you. You helped, you fixed me when everyone else failed. And again, I'd accept it because, I didn't have a lot of compliments growing up. So I'm hearing this. It sounds all lovely, doesn't it? It sounds very positive. But as soon as they can put that compliment out there, they can take it. As soon as I accept I fixed someone, it was because of me, because I'm amazing, it's taken away all the agency from them, from their unconscious, their higher self, whatever you want to call it. It disempowers people. So now, as soon as someone gives me that compliment, I'm like, thank you very much. I know it came from a good place, but I didn't change shit. You did. How the hell could I have changed it? I'm not even in the same fucking room as you. I'm over Zoom. How could I have fixed your 20 years of depression? How could I have fixed your 17 years of alcohol abuse? I'm not even in the same bloody room as you. We're over a video. You changed you. I guided you. I helped you. Hopefully I made it a little faster, a little more. Well, I didn't make it a bit faster and rapider. a rapider. It's easy for me to say more rapid. However, you changed you. It was all you. So I'd learn all these techniques and these complex things that we learn in hypnosis. Oh, aren't I smart? How I can persuade people and do this. And I would work really bloody hard in my sessions to a point where I'd be sweating. I'd be throwing technique after technique. I was like a man doing a stand-up show. I had a solid hour. I was throwing my best work out there. And at the end of a session, I was bloody exhausted because I had worked so hard in that session to get the change because I thought it was all about me.
Yeah.
When I started to get involved in Huna, now I don't do anything seemingly in the sessions. The hardest thing for me to do, in case you haven't realised, Amanda, is I like to talk. The hardest thing for me to do is this.
Actually, oh God, it was Vinny was doing his presentation on his form of hypnosis and you had volunteered.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the most fun because I identified with that so well. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how many times am I talking needlessly with clients? What they really need is for me to just pull myself out of it and hold that space. I identified with that so much. Yeah.
I still get caught with it now, but now I one of the frames I tell my clients at the beginning, like I call myself a hypnotist, but much like years, a hell of a lot of stuff that I've learned. I will say hypnotist because I have, I don't know, 37 certificates in it, and it's what the general public will have a deeper level of understanding on some level versus Huna. If I lead with Huna, they're like me. What the hell is that? Sounds a bit hokey, a bit nonsense. You're going to have a higher self and a Vaiku spirit guide come in and take away my problem? This sounds like you're a snake oil salesman. So now, when I work with Huna, I'm like, hey, so there's a couple of ways we could deal with your problem. If I know it's a very logical person that they're going to be freaked out, what we're doing is hypnosis or applying neuroscience. If they've come to me because, hypnosis, I've heard hypnosis really works for X, Y, and Z, I'm the hypnotist. If I feel someone's a little bit more open, I'll be like, hey, we could deal with your problems this way. I'm fully happy to do that with you. There's another thing that I do as well, and I feel comfortable in telling you because you appear open, and I'll give them the option of the Huna shamanistic stuff. Side note, I'm always doing the Huna, whatever they say anyways. However, I disguise it over here. So if they're like, what's this Huna? Could you do some of that? I'm like, well, it's just quicker. Isn't Huna that Ho'oponopono thing where you say that prayer? No, that's not really what Huna is. That's what
I wondered about that, of how big or is Ho'oponopono even a part of Huna, because that's something that I love, but I'm not familiar with Huna at all.
Yeah. So there is a contingent of people, typically from Hawaii. There's Facebook groups about this, which is Huna is not Hawaiian. And they have a point. But see, what they're arguing is Ho'oponopono. And they're not even arguing the real Ho'oponopono, which I'll get to in a minute. They're questioning the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. It's very effective. It's not actually Huna. A great marketer came along, Joe Polish. I think it's
Joe Vitale?
Thank you. I knew it was Joe someone. Joe Vitale came along. And I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody specific.
Len.
Who was it?
Dr. Hugh Len. It's Hugh Len. Yeah.
And he had got the Ho'oponopono prayer. The Ho'oponopono prayer and the original Ho'oponopono, completely different. In as much as actually they're both about forgiveness, but they're very different ways of doing it. So the Ho'oponopono prayer, and the Ho'oponopono prayer works, by the way. Yep. It does work. But it's not technically from Huna. So the Ho'oponopono prayer is, you bring something up in your neurology that you're having a problem with, and it doesn't just have to be forgiveness, but you let it come up, and you say and you feel, I'm sorry, and take a moment with it. Please forgive me. Take a moment with it. Thank you. I love you. I look at my fingers because it's on my fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very powerful. And then people are like, well, what if someone raped somebody? Are you saying I'm sorry? No, it's not what you're saying. Saying sorry to that part inside of you that you carry. Someone's done a horrible atrocity to you. You're not asking for forgiveness from that person, but the part that you carry that's causing you pain. So I'm sorry, please forgive me. You're saying please forgive me to the person who beat the shit out of me? No, no. To the part that you're carrying around, not to them. It's not about that. You could do the whole process on yourself, and the person who wronged you never needs to know. The thank you. Are you saying thank you that someone abused me, stole from me, hurt? No, 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 no. You're saying thank you for the acceptance and the shift that's going on in your body. You're saying I love you to the person who violated me? No.
Yeah.
To that part that you're carrying around so you can pull it down. So that's the prayer, but it's not technically from Huna. And the type of Huna that I practice is actually, when it was developed, Max Freedom Long developed the name Huna. Okay. He made it up. I believe he's an American guy. And the argument from many of the people in Hawaii was that that's not what we teach people here. This is not what our people have grown up with, which is true. The actual real Huna, the shamanistic stuff, was called something else before. And it just made it, for the lay person, for the British-speaking person, Huna was an easier way of saying it, and it kind of morphed into that. But technically, it's not actually really called Huna. But the kind of version that I practice is not the Max Freedom Long version. It's, the story goes that Tad James, who lived in Hawaii at the time, he's like a big figure in case people don't know in hypnosis, NLP, and timeline therapy. He's now no longer with us. But he would model. There was a guy called Uncle George, and Uncle George was probably a kahuna. But the thing about being a kahuna is, if you call yourself a kahuna, you're not allowed to. If you call yourself a kahuna, it means you're not a kahuna. You're not allowed to tell people you're a kahuna. So kahuna is just, essentially, if we look at it in the Western world, it's like a PhD. So what we'd call a professor, or someone that studied to the level of PhD. So you could be a kahuna in accountancy. You could be a kahuna as a doctor. You could be a kahuna in energy medicine. So it's like the highest level you can be. But the sure way of knowing someone's talking shit is if they call themselves a kahuna, or it's underneath their name, they're not a kahuna. But Tad James would befriended Uncle George, and Uncle George was this little old guy who was like 5'0" but and he would teach the hula, and he had this magnificent energy. And Uncle George would teach him what we now know as Huna. And then Tad modelled a guy called Danny Bray, I believe, and his family, his lineage, because the real Huna was like lineage. It's not like you could go on an NLP, anyone could go on an NLP course, and now we've got 5,000 practitioners certified over the last 6 months. It was like a lineage, because the belief is you've been accepted into our lineage, almost like a tribe. So when you chant...
So that's a bit similar to Reiki in that way, isn't it? That you carry that lineage based on who you're attuned by. You carry that forward.
I haven't studied too much Reiki, but from people that have done Huna, that have been on my course, very much like I'm not sure about you do get initiated. So when I know Reiki, it's attuned. Huna is initiated. So initiation is somebody that got to a high level. Mine was from David Shepherd, who was like Tad James's right hand man, and you get initiated into it, and you get initiated into the symbols, or the Opa, is what it's called in Huna. The symbols are Reiki, are something very similar. In Reiki, tell me if I'm wrong, Amanda, probably am. The symbols, I think there's 12 symbols in Reiki.
It depends on which lineage you're looking at. So in Usui, I want to say we worked with, there was Chokurei, Seiheki, there was the lightning bolt Reiku, and then there was the master one. So 4 or possibly 5 for Usui, and then Karuna has like 12.
Okay.
And if you go Kundalini Reiki, which I did recently, there are none.
Okay. So very similar in with Huna,
Yeah.
but their symbols are called the Apaya, and this is one of the reasons that I really got into it. And my understanding, little knowledge that I have in Reiki, is that you will hold your hand in a position to draw upon the energy of the specific symbol. Huna's a little bit different. There's 36 symbols, and there's essentially about 4 to 5 different levels of the traditional Huna, but you only get initiated into a certain amount of symbols. So like level 1 is 4 symbols, level 2 I think you get another 8 symbols on the 4, level 3 another 8, and so forth. And whereas with Reiki, I think you like I say, you hold your hand in a position or you visualize the symbol. With Huna, this is where it gets really weird and woo-woo, but this shit works. It's amazing. The symbol is essentially a god or a goddess.
Okay.
And you, as a practitioner, if my client's having a problem with it, I would trace the symbol out in the air. I would say the words, think the Hawaiian name, breathe energy into it, and fire it off into my client.
Yeah.
And again, I say it, and even now I say, sounds fucking hokey. But the weird thing is, I have clients in front of me. I don't even tell them I'm doing Huna. Their eyes are closed. I'm saying, you might hear me make some weird breathing noises in a moment. Don't worry, I'm not making an obscene phone call. I'm just doing some stuff in the background. I haven't told them what I'm doing. I haven't told them Huna, but I'm bringing up the specific apora, the specific symbol to help them wherever they are. And I don't tell them, and I fire it off. And I just sit back and tell me when it's gone. Yeah. And then I'll get a sensation inside when it's gone. And oftentimes, a second or two before they say, I'm like, it's gone, isn't it? Yeah. They're like, how the fuck did you know? Oh. It's like, so if I'm with a session client and it's going too long, I'll bring in the Opora symbol to speed things up. If they're not getting the difference between the positive learnings versus I need to keep hold of the negative emotions, I'll put the Apora out there so they can get all the strategies, let go of it. It's just like this is really weird. There's one that I learned on level 3, which is a fort form Opora. What is that? Yeah. Essentially another symbol that you throw out there to put a fort into it. And so I'm like, this is amazing. It feels like, I feel like Doctor Strange. Don't know if you've seen the Marvel movie Doctor Strange, and he's doing what it's like. So I'm like, all right, I love the idea of this. Even on level 3, I'm in Tenerife, and I'm with the HypnoPix. I'm like, I love the idea of this. But how can it be real? But I want it to be real. It's all bullshit, but I love it. It's out there, but it's all bullshit. I'm like, let me just test this. Oh, I've got no patience. So we're lining up and we're waiting to be served in this restaurant in Tenerife, and I'm getting annoyed. They're taking too much bloody time. I feel myself getting annoyed and frustrated. I'm like, I can get annoyed. I get frustrated. I do it all the time. Is that really going to get me served any quicker? Probably not. Hey, why don't I try that thought form thing? What's the worst that can happen? The HypnoPixie don't even know I'm using it. No one knows I'm using it. So if it doesn't work, I'm the only person who knows. Yeah. So I do the thought form and I throw it out there, and to go into the chef to hurry up, to go into the waiter to hurry up. Within 37 seconds, my food came out. I'm like, anyone can get lucky once, though. I'm at the airport and we're at the conveyor belt waiting for the luggage to come. And I don't want to be here all day. I want to go home. It's been a long flight. Like, what if I could speed this up? So I do my thing, and I looked at the HypnoPixie and I said, it's going to be here, and I think it was at 3:57. It was 3 minutes. I told her I said, oh, it's going to be 3:57. 3:57, both our luggages were in our hand. Not 356,
Yeah.
not 358, at 357, the luggage was in the hand. I'm like, oh, I'm on a bit of a winning streak here. We ordered the Uber, and the Hypno Pixie's like, oh, I think because when we were going to the airport, the car was not big enough for both of our luggage. So she's a bit worried, like, oh, both of our luggage might not fit. So I imagine the car coming, I imagine it having space, and I imagine us both being able to put our luggage in lengthwise in the back. Send the form out there, let it go. It shows up, he opens it up without asking. You know, usually they'll stack the luggage on top of it, or they'll put it like the other way, lengthwise. He puts it, horizontal. He puts it vertical, lengthwise in. He puts mine here, he puts hers here, and exactly how I saw it in my head. I'm free for free here. Listen, even if this stuff is just all placebo and bullshit, I'm free for free. And this is just one part of it. There's so like, Huna is Ho'oponopono. It's that much. The Ho'oponopono, the traditional Ho'oponopono, is not the prayer. What it is an act of forgiveness, and essentially what it is to make pono, is to basically make peace with everyone in your life, whether they're alive or dead, and with yourself. And the real process, not the Joe Vitale, is you erect the stage, construct a stage in front of you. You're sitting in the audience, and then category by category, you bring people up on the stage that have been significant. You essentially maybe start with your family, mum, dad, and then perhaps girlfriend, husband, wife, and then essentially you go down with significance. It's a good way of remembering it.
Yeah.
That's
got an interesting it's interesting because I mean the same way you look like the 100 monkey theory with how things go through consciousness. When I did Reiki, the minute I learned the distant symbols, that was the first thing that I wanted to do, was to put myself in meditation and then go all the way back through my life and kind of walk back through, and people of different categories. And it's not something that the Reiki teacher had taught. It was something that came intuitively. And so to this day, it's still something that I will actually make an intention to do once every 6 months or sometimes once a year, depending on how I've lived. And it is profound. I had no idea that came from another part of the world entirely and other precepts of belief.
So if you've never done the real Ho'oponopono, the first time you do it, it might take an hour. It might take an hour and a half, right? So you bring people up, and then irrespective, if someone's wrong you or hurt you, it's not about, oh, you raped me, you molested me, come back into my life. No. You killed someone? No, it's not about that. It's the representation that we bring. So you bring people up, and essentially the belief is there's Akka cords of energy that attach you to everyone you've ever met, live or dead, even objects. There's probably an Akka cord between me and my cell phone, because they're leaving an energy print, right? So if you want to imagine these Akka cords, also pretty much like translucent energy line that go from like the solar plexus to whomever, to everyone that you've ever met, live or dead, whether they're in your life or not. So your energy is consistently you're being manipulated, your energy the whole time, because your energy is out there. And what the whole process is you're cutting or dissolving. They've changed it from cutting to dissolving the Akka cord. Even with loved ones, even with like your people you love, your children that are still in your life, husband, wife, people you're very happy with, you'd still bring them on the stage and you'd still dissolve the Akka cord, but then they can reattach later on, because the belief is essentially, if you're attached to all of these things and people, they should have their energy, you should have yours. Doesn't mean you can't come in contact with them, but you shouldn't be at the mercy of someone else's energy or someone else's Akka cord. So I would dissolve it with everyone, or even people in my life that I love and I will see tomorrow. And then you get the higher self, or infinite source of love and healing, to come out through my heart chakra, and just to fill the people up with love and acceptance. and let them be whole.
Yeah.
And when they're whole, they can either exit stage left or float up.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the process. So imagine you've never done this before. You know, everyone from your parents all the way down to employers, employees, one night stands,
Teachers.
friends.
Yeah.
Just some people's stages can get really, really big. So you're there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where it gets really interesting. There's a thing called possession in Huna, or what people would believe being possessed by a spirit, what some lay people would think as ghosts and demons. Yeah. Huna doesn't believe that, but they do have a repossession process. And how they look at, we call them like thought forms. They're just negative thought forms. How Huna looks at potentially ghosts or things that are outside of our realm is it's just a negative thought form. And here's what it is. Again, it depends who I'm working with. But if a client is seeing black spots or darkness, they know there's something there, they can't see it. Yeah. We treat it as a possession that needs to be exorcised. And I don't mean with a cross. I don't mean with the holy water or 10 Hail Marys. But some of the biggest shifts in myself and my clients, they didn't even know what this darkness was at all. And we didn't regress them to go into it. They're just like, look, there's dark spots. I don't know what it is. Do a repossession, form of it, and the darkness goes. Consciously, they're not even aware, but it's just like, fuck. It's just an energy form. Some form of spirit on some level that didn't want to go away, that's attached itself to you, that's drawing your energy, your power, and it's time to let them go as well. So there's a whole process for that, which is really fun.
Right before this, I had a client. She had something we'd let go of, and then the episode before this one, there were 3 episodes before that. All of those were about spirit releasement. So this audience knows a lot about spirit releasement, and that's really just semantics for repossession. But what I like, when I hear repossession, I'm also thinking it's about bringing back those pieces of soul essence that get lost and kind of discarded off or misplaced for, survival and the things that we do to preserve ourselves. Is there an element of bringing the soul back in after you let go of the thought forms?
I need to correct myself. I made a mistake.
Oh, okay.
Depossession. Because they're possessed by something. Okay. So we need to depossess them. So it's depossession. So,
that's too bad, because I like the repossessing.
We can patent that as well.
Yeah.
We can make a product on that. Could be our version of the Ho'oponopono prayer and make $50 million helping people. So in Huna, and again, I could wrap my mind around the conscious mind, the unconscious, subconscious, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And not being I'm not a religious guy, but I like the idea there's something greater than me. I like to call it the higher self. In Huna, it's the higher self. And the higher self is, what essentially some people might call spirit or the soul. And we all,
I have heard the word Amakua. Is that usually that's
the name to call your higher self in Huna, Amakura. There's actually a chant that we say in Amakura that if people have never had a sensation, a real life experience of being connected to their higher self, there's a certain chant that we do in Hawaiian, and the chant is essentially to go across the cosmos, to go across the universe to where all the abandoned higher selves are. It reminds me of that scene in Star Wars, where you've got all the monsters in the bar and the creatures. You're calling them because if you don't use your higher self, they get bored and they float off. So it's a chant to call them back into the ether, to call them back in the Kiavi, which is the spirit element in Huna, and then reattaching them to yourself so you have a real experience of being attached to your higher self. So higher self is just our term for spirit or for soul that can do amazing things. So sometimes I'll be working with clients and I'll be speaking to their unconscious, and they will be too. We'll hit a block, and it's just not wanting to make the shift It's not wanting to make the change. And, I've got many different ways of pivoting. Sometimes I get frustrating. But if I get that now, I just speak to the higher self. Like I always say to my clients, like respectfully, if we go to a Walmart and we have a problem there, we're not really going to go to the assistant manager, because the assistant manager can't really make changes. They're very busy. They're doing a lot of work every day, but they can't really hire and fire people or build a new Walmart. You have to go to the CEO or the manager. So respectfully, unconscious can do a certain amount, but if we get blocked, that's fine. Let's bring in the big guns. Yeah. Let's bring in the higher self, and let's get the higher self to do what the unconscious mind can't do at this moment. Because, our higher selves, we're perfect. If we're poor, we're perfect. If we have $1 billion in the bank, we're perfect. If we have 10% body fat, we're perfect. If we have a 35% body fat, we're perfect. To our higher self, it's amazing. You're perfect right now. Could you be even more? Could you be perfect now and be poor, and be perfect 10 years from now and be a billionaire? Yeah, you'd still be perfect to it.
Yeah. So I guess in my mind, because I like to work with a lot of different beings, but I'm learning more and more about thought forms. When we talk about the symbols and essentially the gods that you bring in, aren't they just thought forms but aligned with high vibration?
So, this is where it gets even more crazy. I would hear spirit guides. Oh, spirit guide? The fuck is this nonsense? In Huna, on level 2, you get a Vaiku. And this is when everything changes. A Vaiku is what other people might recognize, for want of a better word, spirit guides. If I go and change a client's, if I'm doing change work with a client and it goes into a past life or energy, there is a possibility that I could get bad karma because I'm making a shift.
I had wondered, because you're talking about practicing and not even having to tell the client, and so with the things that I've studied, it's always, you don't want to disrupt people's karma. What about free will? And so I'd kind of wondered about that.
Oh, yeah. There's a way around it. And the way around it is the Vaiku, and, I got 3 Vaiku on level 2. Sometimes you can get more as you progress, but essentially you get your Vaiku on level 2. And I didn't choose them. They chose me. I didn't choose their superpowers. They choose their superpowers. I didn't choose their name. They chose their name. So none of it was conscious, because none of their names are English names, and none of their superpowers are superpowers that I would have given them. Right? Yeah. So, my cat makes a cameo, I told you. Mr. B, he likes to be in these things. He's a Vaiku in disguise. So, the Vaiku, I like to call them spiritual hitmen. Because they were created for me. If you did level 2 of Huna, your Vaiku would be created for you. If John went to do level 2 of Huna, his Vaiku would be created for him. And because they're created from you, it's not my higher self that's doing the work. They get the karma. So if they go in and remove something, whatever, if there is any weird thing about karma, they get the heart karma, but it was created. They were created for me. So they work as like the in-between people, or spiritual beings that essentially do all the work. Also, I always ask my client, essentially, do I have your, wherever they think they're coming in for hypnosis or timeline therapy, is it okay if I do whatever it takes, as long as it's safe and ethical and non-fattening, to get rid of your problem, or to aid you to get rid of their problem? To which they say yes. Say, guess what? I'm going to do whatever. They've given me the yes. They've paid their money. They've signed the form, and they've given me that. You better believe I'm going to use whatever I can to help them. So then the question is it the Vaiku that are going to the client's the gestalt and removing their problem, the root cause of which, one's removed, the problem goes away? Or is it their higher self, that's removing the problem? Yes, is the answer. It doesn't matter if it's my Vaiku or my Vaiku have to go speak to their higher self to remove it. The thing's still removed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. An hour. I can't believe an hour has already gone by. um, what is something you really want people listening today to take away? If there's like a big message, what would that be for you?
That if you've been suffering, even if you've been suffering for decades, even if you've gone counseling, psychotherapy, medication, rehab centers, and you've got some mental, emotional, chronic physiological problem, just because you've had it decades, a long time, just because a whole team of people have tried to help you with it, you can still get rid of it. And you can still get rid of it quite rapidly, a lot faster than you think, and it stays gone. Just because you've had it for 30 years, it doesn't take 30 years for it to disappear, because when you got the problem, it happened like that. So if it was created like that, it can be uncreated like that as well. And I know in traditional psychology, counseling, years and years of therapy, years and years of work and talking all over it. If just talking about it worked, you'd tell your best friend, your partner about it, and it would be gone. However, that doesn't work for most people most of the time. So you don't need to keep re-talking about it. You don't need to keep re-traumatizing it. You can just semantically let it out of your system when you've got the right tools there. And it's really easy to do once you have someone that can guide you to help yourself to go on that journey, that odyssey to get rid of it. And it can be rapid and the whole life can change. And it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to take a long time because I've seen it for 25 years and experienced it.
Do you have a favorite client or case study?
In general, or it relates to like Huna and energy work?
I mean, ideally with Huna, but it could be either one that just really awakened you to something big on your path. Because even though whether you're doing Huna or IEMT or hypnosis, at the end of the day, you're still on your spiritual journey. You're still learning what is something that really awoken something deep in you that made you just look at life different.
Yeah, I had a few stories like this where I had clients and it would seem that nothing's working. As in, I'm working with them and we're 2 sessions deep and it doesn't seem that their problem's getting any better. And I'm like, they've paid the money and I desperately want to help them. And I have an ego as well. So the last sessions come in and I'm like, what am I going to do? It's working here. And maybe they're not that they're not good people, that they seem quite resistant or nothing's changing. So I'll do this, what we've been talking about today with my Vaiku, with Vapora out there, put these things out there, and I just keep the space, the frame, the positive intention of, the right thing's going to happen. And I believe, I'm like, it's not about me fixing them. It's about all of this. It's about this energy. So I sit back and I do it. I'm like, I can't do anything. Like nothing's worked. All of my smart language patterns, nothing's worked. Like, this is it. They don't even know what I'm doing, and I'll send my IQ out to take out the gestalt, and I just sit back, and I can't tell you a time it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
It's weird, and I even feel weird saying it. I have never had a time where it didn't work. Like everything, and my shoulder pain is still an 8. Do it. Where's the shoulder pain? Well, no, there's no pain anymore. It's just a tingling. Is the tingling different from the pain? Yeah. So where's the pain now? Oh yeah, that is different. It's just tingling. It means it's just 0. Then I just have to sit back and just throw it out there, whether it's my IQ, whether it's their higher self removing it. Yes, who cares as long as it's gone. But when all else fails, simplicity. Take myself out of the out of the event. It's not about me. Let my guys do their work. Sit back and just wait for it to change. Sometimes I'm just like this for 15 minutes, and and I'm just 15 minutes. And they're like, it's gone. That's right. When I felt it a moment before.
Yeah. Aw. So right now you specialize deeply with people women specifically, who are stopping binge drinking. Do you bring Huna into that? Or what does that look like?
Yeah. So I didn't choose this niche. This niche chose me. I just noticed a specific type of woman. We call her Sarah. That's the name, right? 27 to 57, who is really successful. As in health. Health is really great. Great family. Usually, lawyers, realtors, solopreneurs, like doing really well. To anyone outside of Sarah, they'd be like, oh, she's got all of her ducks in a row. She's got all of her shit together. We want to grow up and be like Sarah. Except she has this dirty little secret of when she goes home a couple of nights of the week after 6 p.m., she drinks herself into oblivion. She's high functioning. She can get up the next day and be shit hot at her job, but there's some numbness that she is hiding. She's generally overwhelmed by life, by all these huge responsibilities, and she's typically got an A personality. So she's a real bloody go getter, you know. But there's oftentimes an overwhelm. There's a stress. There's a feeling of that imposter syndrome that we hear a lot about now. That I'm going to let people down if I drop one of those balls. So I always use Huna now. Oh, if my typical interventions aren't going as fast as I want them to go, I'll just say to my guys, can you just go and find a gestalt, can you just go take it out and just let me know. And she thinks she's doing this, and I'll just tell my guys in my mind, I'll take it out. Or you know, if I feel that the work's not complete, I'll throw out the Apora sign for completion. She doesn't know, her eyes are closed. I just throw it out there. Yeah, so these are poor. These symbols, along with the Avaika and the higher self, is amazing. So yeah, do I don't not I use it with everyone all of the time. Now, do I tell them all? No, they don't need to know. Not everyone needs to know how the sausage is made. In fact, you don't want to know how the sausage is made. No, bad. Stay away from the sausage.
Oh, goodness. So, what is next for you on your journey and as you're continuing to heal and do your own spiritual journey and growth? You went from that guy who was all about the neuroscience and believing that it was all bullshit to working with Huna on almost every client. What's next for you?
I would like to eventually. This is why I think Huna came into my life as well. Is I wanted a client to come in that I didn't even know what their problem was. There was not even a screening call, which is typical for me. They filled out an application. They haven't even done that, but they do want help, and they come in, and I just get them to get in touch with whatever their problem is, and I don't know what it is, and then within a minute or two, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it seems that I wasn't talking, just sitting back, and it's gone. That's my ultimate goal. Do we want to talk about no content work? Not only is it no content, it's rapid. And I don't mean rapid as in an hour to get rid of your lifetime of trauma. I mean minutes. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
and it's gone, and it stays gone. That's my. Where it used to take me 3 hours, then 2, then 1, then 59 minutes, and then all the way down. I want 1 minute change work that sticks forever on a spiritual level, and then they get on with their bloody life and make it amazing. That's my ultimate goal.
The thing that I love as you're talking about that is it reminds me how I feel when I do IEMT, and sometimes virtual especially, it's hilarious because I'm sitting here just watching and I can literally see the clients' eyes go up and around the room as they're looking, and I'm like, it's gone, huh? Boop, just gone.
Yeah.
And there's this moment of confusion, and it takes a minute for the relief to set in, but the
Yes.
second that it does, it's just like, oh, I love this work. So you do it with Huna, and it sounds, how do you feel like it differs from IEMT other than the quickness and the time?
Is they don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's like it's gone, isn't it? It's like, you know, when like they say like it can look like there's nothing, but there's so much that's going on.
Yeah.
But it looks to someone who doesn't know, and how could you, because it's all inside, right? But it's like, how the fuck? I want it to be real magic. I loved magic growing up. I want it to be what I thought magic was when I was a kid. Like when I see Doctor Strange, and he's doing these symbols and these magnificent things. Yeah, so in quickness, and if you're just watching it, it looks like I did nothing. And in reality, I didn't do anything. I just got my guys to do it. My spiritual hitmen in the best possible way. I didn't actually do anything. And the thing with the Avaiku is if you don't use them often, they go away. So you have to give them stuff to do often. Otherwise, they get bored and you can lose them. So yeah, I'm using my guys always to do stuff, ethical stuff. They can't tell me the winning numbers of the lottery.
Yeah.
It's not their job. Got to only use them for good. But yeah, I guess it just is even more like to someone who thinks years of counselling and then they get rid of their problem and they do EMDI or whatever variation of it is that they're doing. It's like, well, it is magic to them. Holy shit, that's 10 minutes of doing this. I did a version of it, SciTap, where we'd have the light and stuff. And I love using it. Yeah. But I'm like, what if I took the light away? What if I took the pen away? What if I took the words away?
Yeah.
Strip it down, make it purer, more pure. And it's just essentially, I want my sessions to be this. Someone comes in, it's gone in it. That's it.
Yeah. Goals. You'd mentioned Hypnopixie before.
Yes.
Tell us more about her, because I doubt anybody here currently knows.
Oh, the wonderful Hypnopixie. The Hypnopixie is an amazing ball of love and energy, and the best person that I ever met. Yeah, she's the best person I ever met. And here's a funny thing: she got involved in hypnosis because of me, and we did a training in a street hypnosis training. We were on another hypnotist training in Miami. And she was probably the least... She got another job. This is not her job, hypnosis. But she saw me doing street hypnosis. She'd come to expos with me. And we're all out on Miami Beach trying to get people in for street hypnosis. Nobody, not even the trainer, could hook people. Not only did she hook someone to come in, she then did like a 30-minute street hypnosis show with a huge crowd. And some of these other people there, I've been doing hypnosis a long time. They couldn't stop someone, couldn't even do magnetic fingers. She's making people disappear, reappear, sticking things to things. Yeah. And everyone looked at her differently after that because she outperformed and outworked anybody. Is like sometimes
was that the episode where she convinced a lady that I think she said it was Mark Wahlberg?
Yes. that was a thing. The least experience of anyone. So sometimes we'd be at an expo together and she's just there to help me, right? It's not her job. She got other things. But she likes this street hypnosis, and then sometimes she'd get when she start to do it a little bit scared. Because because she's small. Yeah. So I'm like, this 6'6" guy that's here that you're going to do street hypnosis with, you're going to drop him to the ground with love, safely, but you're going to drop him to the ground because this is going to be good for the video. Oh, but I can't. Yeah, you can. You're going to drop him to the ground and do magnificent, fun hypnosis with him. And then she does it. You see this guy safely go down like a redwood, but he goes down safely. He's fine. Everything's good. And then she's like, whoa, I can do this? Yeah, you can do it. And she's somebody that if she is naturally just there, her energy is so bright without having to do something. If she tries to do something like read a script, I'm like, don't do that. Because the very thing that you are, if you're reading a script, is gone. Your thing is you. Your thing is your energy, your beauty, your vitality. Not reading this bloody script. Put the script down. Don't ever let me see you read a script ever again. You have people. Just you, your energy. It's enough. It's more than enough. It's blinding. It's beautiful.
When I met you both at HypnoThoughts, I think I was aware of you first because you stood up to be part of Vince's demo. And then I saw her and I actually loved her immediately because of that energy. It's just super compelling, super comforting, but very bright. She was very enthusiastic and happy. And then to know you were an item was just like, oh, that's even better. It's like the best of both worlds coming in. And my
She's
spouse and I watched that video and we both
yeah,
laughed and loved it so much. It was so good.
yeah, she's the yin to my yang.
Yeah. Where do people find her to learn more about her
Ooh.
street hypnosis?
I believe she does have a YouTube channel. She hasn't posted for a long time. Because again, this is not a job. She just does this for fun. I think if you put Hypno Pixie, HYPNOPIXIX, Hypno, and then Pixie, I gave her that name, onto YouTube, you will find some of her videos. It's probably the best place to see some of her fun hypnosis stuff. Hypno
Yeah.
Pixie, YouTube.
And so I guess after everything, I have to wonder how much of this is semantics. Because when I'm thinking about the session that I had earlier today, and it wasn't that different from other sessions I've had, I don't call the Amakua, I don't call the various words that you used, but I do work with archangels and I do work with people's higher selves. And it all kind of comes out the same too. And I never come through a session like that without intervention. So, how much of it is really down to semantics and a healer is a healer is a healer?
So to answer your question, back in the
Yeah.
day, there was this before the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC, mixed martial arts. Yeah, you're nodding, you've heard of it. But before 1993, everyone would think, what would happen when the boxer fought the wrestler? What would happen when the karate man or woman fought the Muay Thai person?
Fair enough.
Right? So we got the counselors, the psychotherapy, the NLP, the hypnosis, the Huna, the Reiki.
Yeah.
And then people started to cross train. Well, I've got to learn some wrestling and some Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and some Muay Thai and some boxing. And I have to do the strength and conditioning. Until eventually you learn a little bit of everything and then it's you. So it's all semantics. But for me, I'm not married to any particular modality. It doesn't matter how many certificates. I'm married to what works. And sometimes what works is me just bloody telling real stories from my own life for a client. Sometimes I have to metaphorically, I can't do it really, bitch slap somebody to get the shift. Sometimes it's just the way that I look. Sometimes it's something, hypnosis is a hand stick. Well, if your hand's stuck, what is that like that problem that's stuck in your life? And when you can move that hand, that problem becomes, and sometimes it's the higher self. It's just, whatever bloody works. There's even counsellors have a good skill here or there. Or if I'm watching a show and the interviewer is magnificent, or I'm watching a movie, this character has something that's compelling, I'll take that. I'll use that. I'll put it through me. And it's just like, all right, well, who's in front of me? I'm just going to use whatever. So
Yeah.
I think if you go into it with a script, and I don't just mean written down, but well, step one is this, step two is this. I used to go in that, and then it's like the client gives me something, throw that out the window. Let's work with what you gave me.
Yeah.
So it's all just semantics. It's all just different forms of healing. It's everyone wants every system's like this is the system. No, there is no one system. It's what works for you, and if anything, it's what goes wrong, what doesn't work, and then I'm in a session like, holy shit, they sold me on the idea this technique works for everyone all of the time. Yes, I believed that 25 years ago, and it hasn't worked. And now what do I do? Well, I've got 55 minutes left. They've paid all this money, and I really want to help them. Sometimes I
Yeah.
just make up shit. And you know that shit that I make up is more powerful than this stuff that's supposed to work all of the time with every person. Use whatever you need to use that comes to
Yeah.
you. Now, something weird comes to me. I'm just going to bloody use that. Doesn't need to make any sense. Why did it just come to me? It came to me for a reason. Let me go with that. It's all just
Or the more
semantics.
interesting question is where it came from, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That could be a whole other episode.
Yeah,
Goodness, thank you so much.
it's
I've
been a
enjoyed
pleasure.
exploring this with you. Please come back. Let's talk about more fun and fascinating things. Anything else you want people listening today to really take away for themselves?
Yeah. Like I say, just because you've had a problem for a long time, just because you've had a whole team of experts helping you with it or not helping you with it, you can get rid of it. And if you think, well, hypnosis, who knows? It's a bit weird. It sounds a bit cool, but a bit weird. I've been doing it a long time. It is a bit cool, and it is a bit weird. I only care about what works.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, if it works, I'm going to use it. If it doesn't work, like Bruce Lee, I'm going to disregard it. But you can get rid of stuff rapidly. And oftentimes our problems are illogical. So it takes illogical solutions to illogical problems. It's not logical to be anxious while you're sitting at home and thinking
Yeah.
to have a panic attack. Why seemingly there's nothing in danger going on, but people have panic attacks all the time. It's completely illogical, but completely real for them. So it takes an illogical solution to that. That's what I mean by bullshit. Yeah, problem's bullshit. The solution's bullshit. But when bullshit meets bullshit, sometimes magnificent things happen. But if you're out there, and I help with a lot of every kind of problem you can imagine, but I do specialize in helping women overcome binge drinking. If you need some help with that, there should be a website underneath me. It's at stopbingedrinking.com. And you can go there, and there's a free 10-part course. It's about 4 or 5 hours. It's like 10 videos of dense information to help you. It's not therapy. It's not hypnosis. It's not Huna. This is just information as to what the why and the what behind binge drinking to help educate you. And if you want some help then to overcome it, I have a product there, which is like my best hits in one video. It's like if someone came into a session with me and I didn't know what the problem was because they couldn't communicate it and they couldn't speak. This is what I would do, content 3 with somebody. So there's a whole video. It's only like $97. If you come and do a session with me, one session, it's $1,600. It's essentially the same stuff. So it's a lot cheaper, and it's as if I'm there talking to you because I do all my stuff over Zoom. But that's on stopbingedrinking.com, and you can sign up for the 10 videos if you want, get some information. And if you want some help stopping binge drinking, there'll be a way that you can book a screening call with me. Where I can help you to see if we align and if I can help you going forward. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Soulful Seekers, for listening. If you've got questions for Luke, leave them under the episode and I will pass them along for him to possibly come back and answer for us. And all of his links will be in the episode info as well. All right, everyone. Bright blessings. Stay happy, healthy, and inspired. Bye. Thank you for joining us on this transformative episode of Trauma and Transcendence. Your stories matter. I would love to hear them and from you. Connect on our website, healingbeyondtrauma.com, or drop me an email at amanda@healingbeyondtrauma.com. Remember, healing is a journey we take together. Until next time, stay connected, stay inspired. This is Amanda, wishing you bright blessings.